Hi, I am Alfonso the Icon Muchacho, and today I'm going to cover stabby chords. I have received a surprising amount of messages asking about these type of sounds over the last few months. It seems to be one of these sounds that confuses people. People try to emulate the sound but start with the wrong shape or idea and then never really get close to what they're looking for. The truth is, making these sorts of stabs is unbelievably easy, but there's subtlety in their creation, and that's what you need to understand. So, in the spirit of keeping this interesting, here's one I made earlier on the boog or the bogue, depending on how you're pronouncing it today. So, starting on the oscillators, you'll notice that they're all set to saw waves, and most importantly, they are all tuned differently. The second oscillator is tuned up by 3 notes, from a D to an F, and then the third oscillator is tuned up by 7 notes to an A. Don't pay too much attention to the dials. It's analog, so it kind of jumps around a bit as it warms up. That's why they make the tuning knobs so much larger than all the others, because you'll need to be pretty precise with them when you're tuning them. Anyway, as I'm playing a D in Ableton, we are now playing a D minor chord, so D, F and A, and that sounds something like this. The filter is almost entirely closed. We've got the envelope mod moving at a fair amount to create this deep sound, and I'm sending it to a reverb in live, but that's about it. There isn't much more to creating this sound on this synth. You'll need to remember when you're sequencing a melody, you are playing chords, so just pressing any old key won't work. You need to bear in mind that whatever note you press, you'll also be hitting notes 3 and 7 above. So in my very simple melody, I'm hitting D and A to stay in key. When I'm hitting the A key, it's playing A, C and E. All of these notes are in the key of D minor, so we are good. Take a listen. So that sounds okay. It's a deep sound, but it's not really that stabby, and stabby is what I want here, and I'm not going to achieve that with this synth, and I'll show you why. So let's move over to Diva, and immediately you'll notice that I'm using the Moog or Moog template. So it should be relatively similar to what I was just doing on the boog or bogue. Let's call it the bogue. I've got 3 oscillators set to saw waves, and they are detuned, but the character of the sound is quite different. Take a listen. So aside from the filter and envelope settings not being the same as the previous sound, what's really changing everything here is the filter envelope. Here you can see that we have a control to set the filter envelope to affect the filter either positively or negatively. So we can set the envelope to have the filter open at the beginning of the note and then slamming shut quickly as the note is played. This creates the stabbing metallic sound that I'm looking for. Now, to throw a spanner in the works, I'm going to demonstrate, perhaps controversially, that the actual waveform you use is almost irrelevant. These sorts of sounds are all about 2 things, the envelopes and the effects. As you spend more time learning sound design, you'll understand that most of the sounds you hear in tracks are actually just slight variations in envelopes and effects. The baseline sounds are usually quite similar. So here, using Diva again, I've gone for a completely different wave shape. I'm using a different filter and a different envelope generator. Now take a listen to how different this sounds whilst retaining the same attributes such as length and attack as the previous sound. So you can't help but notice just how soft this sound is at the beginning, and then through automation I'm opening up the filter and increasing the note release time to create this enormous building sound towards the end of the melody. I've used a delay this time instead of a reverb, as I feel it gives more character and variation to the sound, particularly as it morphs with the automation. Take a listen again with some drums playing in the background. Focus in on the movement after each note, and listen as the filter snaps shut to how much extra the delay is adding. So even though the filter has snapped back to its most close setting, we still have a few of those huge notes bouncing around and hanging in the air. It helps make the sound less jarring and unnatural as we go back to the original sound. It's worth noting for anyone interested in copying this sound in Diva, I have done all the oscillators detuning in this section here under the stack detune section. It's the same settings as previously mentioned, plus one oscillator tuned to an octave below, just to give a bit of extra thickness. Okay, my final sound then, and this is my favourite because of its hollow and yet weighty sound. I'm glad I got those two nonsense terms in there somehow. This one would be verging on a pluck sound if it wasn't for the four voices stacked on top of each other, but the stack coupled with the reverb and delay make a powerful sound with lots of bass. Check it out. In terms of automation, I'm increasing the note sustain as I open the filter, and I'm also adding in some noise to the sound, probably too much noise to the sound, to give a little extra bite in the high end. To fully understand what the envelopes are doing, I think it's worth having a play with the modulation setting. Listen as I switch it from a positive to a negative and back again. You can hear how the filter opening rather than closing as the note plays, and the stabby metallic sound that we're looking for disappears. So it's not really the sawtooth wave that we've got selected that's creating this sound, it's the envelope mod. So you've got your metallic chord, what else can you do with it? So you could EQ this one into a kind of melodic bass line. I'm going to make it into a big thick lead by using the Valhalla delay to create a short delay that's offset by a relatively low time. Listen to how this adds even more thickness to the chords. So what are the take-home points here? Number one, to create a metallic stab, you don't need to start with a metallic sound. Number two, the chords you choose really matter. I've gone for minor chords here just to keep things simple, but the more voices you detune, the thicker your sound will get. And number three, envelopes matter a lot. To learn how they affect your stabs, I suggest either grabbing a preset or copying the ones that I've done in this video and just start tweaking them. Try automating different parts of the envelope and then listen to how the character of the sound changes. Understand what effect having a positive or a negative effect on the filter envelope does to the sound. And for more fun than you can shake a stick at, start messing with the delay timings to create insanely complex rhythms. Some of you might be wondering, why would you want to detune the oscillators like I've done here? Why not just increase the voice count and then play chords on your keyboard? Well, give it a try. You'll get a very different sound. It will be more versatile, as in you'll be able to quickly play any chord that you want, but it won't sound the same. It won't be quite as thick as doing it this way. But I encourage you to experiment with this. It can be a real eye-opener and can help you understand how oscillators behave in different modes.